Good to be with you, my brother.
Good to be with you, bro.
On our last day of our 10-day Maui adventure. Everyone listening, we've had a epic 10 days, to say the least. Kind of juggling family life with our brotherhood adventure time. And this is our last day, and thought it'd be really nice to just reflect on our experience with you all and talk about what's going on with Cam's business, Darch Physio, and what lays ahead and what's feeding Cam's passion and all that. And for those of you that don't know, Cam is my actual blood brother, even though I call a lot of people bro and brother. He's my actual brother. So it's a real honor and blessings to have my Watkins blood brother here in Maui with me and the family, and right here with you all. We're here on the west side of Maui at Lahaina. So if you're hearing the rolling waves, we're right on the beach. So enjoy, maybe hop on the YouTube version and soak up the visuals of where we're at, because it's absolutely magnificent. But so good to be with you, brother. How are you right now?
I'm awesome, man. I've got a nice little sweat going over here, so I'm going to just do a little bit of that. But, man, it's amazing to be here. This is absolute paradise. It's just heaven, as close as I could imagine you can get. It's perfect. It's nice and warm. We've been blessed with the weather. It's been like this pretty much every day. And I've just had an amazing time hanging with you and hanging with the fam. As we've joked around about it, but as part of the Stuart Watkins Joe Testool yoga and meditation and family retreat, which has been so amazing, bro. So amazing to be part of it. I've gotten lots of little lessons along the way, and it feels like it's been longer than 10 days or so. So it's an honor to be here with you, bro, and so glad I came.
Before we dive into the bliss of it all, Cam and I had a really interesting, crazy, just out there experience yesterday. We were having a blissful snorkel kind of free dive session at a place called Black Rock, which is just north of where we are in Napili. And we had arrived at a really beautiful cove, and we were super relaxed and just laying back on a beach. And then we decided to go for kind of round 2 of our snorkel. And we went out, and within a few minutes of going out, not even deep, we noticed a young man. We found out he was only 22 later on, just floating there unusually, and he was very much drowning, and it took us a little while because he had a snorkel on, and it just kind of looked like he was looking at a turtle or something like that. It looked like he was looking down, but he was actually very much drowning, and it took us a moment to go, holy shit, like he's drowning, because there were quite a few people in the water, and it was quite interesting that everyone kept kind of obviously going past him, and then something flicked off in my attention, a kind of sixth sense type of really out there experience of going, holy crap, like he's out. And Cam pulled him into shore while I was yelling at the whole beach to call an ambulance. I should have said just call 911, because it took people a long time to realize what we were on about. And just want to talk to that for quite a few reasons. For one, we didn't get his details or his information, and we don't know if he's actually made it. On the beach, everyone, a core group of people were doing CPR on him, and a pulse came back. I mean, he very much looked dead, and as dead as can be. And then a pulse came back, some breath came back. It looked like a bit of consciousness came back, and then by that time the ambulance had arrived, and he was taken off, and we were just kind of in a pretty altered state, in a pretty focused, just intense state of just trying to bring this guy back, that we didn't think to get his details. So if it happens that anyone does have details on him, we'd love to connect and find out if if he made it or not. Apparently he's a young 22-year-old. One of his mates came up and...
we know his name's Matt.
We know his name's Matt, and we were doing this snorkeling. It was one of the Napili bays right off Black Rock Beach. So we've tried to Google, and we might try. We'll try call the hospital and the hotel where the cove was near and stuff like that. We really want to find out how he's doing. We were intuiting that he'll be probably in intensive care because we went up to the ambulance when he was going off, and it was revealed to us that he couldn't breathe on his own yet, and he was only able to be breathed through the machine. So, we're intuiting that he's in intensive care and all of that. Part of the process to bring his breath back, this fireman, what's his name? Darren.
No, it wasn't Darren.
Did you get his name?
I can't remember the fire's name.
But he stepped in and was doing it was just pumping his heart big time.
I mean, we basically
talk right into the mic.
Yeah, we pulled him in, which was an experience. I guess towing him in, and while Stu was yelling, "Call an ambulance!" He was certainly, we say he was drowning, but it was as if he had drowned and was gone. He was dead weight, basically pulling him in, which was an interesting feeling because his head was rolling around, and I was able to kind of get in and stabilize as we pulled him in, and then pulling him into shore when people finally caught on to what was going on, and there was a big group of people around, and we were able to kind of establish who was ready to get in and do some first aid, and I was able to stabilize his head and listen for breathing and clear the airway and everything, and then our fiery friend, who will be a nameless hero at this stage, he was able to jump in, and it was amazing because obviously we need to clear the airway, and I was suggesting that that's what we focus on, and he's just kind of come in, and big boy, and he's just put all his weight through his chest, and he's done his 30 compressions, and he's really pounding them, and that was his way of clearing the airway. With each push, it actually just forced the water out of his lungs, and it seemed out of every other orifice as well. This water kind of kept pouring out. We turned him on his side. He was able to throw up a bit more water, and that kind of kept coming, and went back and did the breaths, and went again with the compressions, and then at that stage, we started to see that his breath was starting to come back. A lovely woman crept in next to me, and she was a nurse in emergency care, and she was really switched on, and she just noticed that his breath's coming back and his pulse was coming back, and then he started to be a little bit more coherent with his eyes. You could tell that he was starting to take a little bit in. So he was back and breathing, and would continue to cough up water, and we were able to put him on his side, and then the paramedics and the ambulance came as well. So it was it all happened pretty quickly, and it was amazing that he was able to come back so quickly, because certainly towing him in, the main thing going through my mind was that he was gone. We didn't know how long he was in the water, but when we saw him, he looked dead. He was as pale as anything, and he was he was a pale dude anyway, but he was white
and blue.
Yeah, he was.
Purple.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and his body was just completely kind of flaccid in the water there, and we really have no idea how long he may have been out for, which is interesting, and so we don't know the effect that this has all had on his brain, because we don't know exactly what's going on with him right now. He could be absolutely fine, or he could be hanging on for dear life with it, which is an interesting feeling as well. But obviously wishing him all the best, and hopefully we do get to find out what state he's in. Yeah. And hopefully he's all good.
So sending him lots of love, and his family and all of that, and also extending that to anyone suffering or in similar situations like that. It's so intense, and I'm so glad we picked up on that. Such a young man, you know, and I also really hope he makes it.
Certainly, one of those things where you think, oh, we could have done this or could have done that. It was lucky that we were there, because my first thinking, once we'd done the whole snorkel around to get to that bay, I was thinking, let's just walk back to where we came from. And, you know, you said, no, let's snorkel back. And I thought, okay, let's snorkel back. So we could have easily walked back, and we don't know if someone else would have picked up on it or how much longer he would have been floating there, or like just one of those many little things where you're in the right place at the right time, and you were sensitive enough to listen to that feeling when something wasn't quite right, when, you know, there's hundreds of people out there snorkeling around and floating around, and you get pretty focused on looking for fish and turtles and things, and it just so happened that obviously you picked up that this guy was not in a good way. So it's amazing when things work out that way. So
yeah, we've been with Joe as well, we've just been talking about it kind of constantly, the trippiness of it in many different ways, that kind of sixth sense type thing, and yeah, just the multitude of situations, and a huge lesson in it, in just not being paranoid but paying close attention. Not being paranoid but paying close attention. It feels like such a fine line, such a clarity and balance to have that sincere like concern and paying of attention without being paranoid. And as a parent, I'm constantly doing you could say, yoga of finding that balance, because it's so easy to fall into the trap of like being paranoid in that kind of worrisome way, as opposed to like a really fierce love of concern, but with spaciousness to let people just explore and do their thing. And that was a huge lesson in that. I mean, it was so chilled out. It was like you couldn't imagine a more perfect day.
It was more chilled out than this.
There was no current, no waves, like the clearest water you could imagine. And it was like, imagine just utopia. Everyone's just playing and swimming and floating and jumping off the cliff. That was a bit hairy, but as calm as you could imagine. And you just wouldn't expect someone to go down like that. And it was just yet another wake up call to pay close attention like that, and listen to the gut, listen to that sixth sense that we often get super distracted from, and we have our kind of tunnel vision of looking at the fish, looking at the turtles, having fun, and it's like that balance of having fun yet keeping the peripheral vision open, keeping those more subtle perceptions open. And it was really profound. So also a reminder, you know, I think it's important to have that first aid knowledge as well. Mm-hmm. You know, I think I got to be a lifeguard for 5 or so years, and I never ever had to do anything. Thank God, you know. So I sat in a chair and chilled out for 5 years. It was awesome, but being in that position, pulling him in, you know, I was kind of going through my head, okay, this person may be dead, but we're going to have to do everything we can. So I was kind of revising what we needed to do, and then to get to the beach and work out, all right, who's actually got first aid experience here, and to quickly connect with the fireman and the nurse and to get things happening was awesome. And you know, you don't have to be a fireman or a nurse to save someone's life. So, you know, it's amazing, because it can happen when you're chilling out at the most chilled out beach in Hawaii, you know, so or a pool or whatever. So that was a pretty significant reminder of that, and just gratitude that, look, certainly it all worked out as best as it possibly could have at that stage. So my brother,
bro,
you've seemingly, evidently stepped up your inspiration yet another notch off the tail end of that Bali retreat, and you've been in probably some of the deepest zones I've witnessed you be in. It's been super inspiring to observe. I'd love to hear your thoughts of what's feeding you right now and where Darch is heading, and just talk to what's inspiring you right now. What's feeding you in terms of physicality and your practice and spirit and everything like that. Then we'll get a bit more specific.
Yeah,
handstands.
Handstands are great. Just I guess probably since I graduated as a physio, work was probably taking up the majority of my energy, or it had been for a good 5 or so years, and that's fine, and I love my job. I'm very grateful that I found work as a physiotherapist. I absolutely love it. It's one of those things, I think when you wake up in the morning, what gets you out of bed, and a big part of that for me is being able to help people. If I'm tired or whatever, I am very quickly motivated by the fact, well, I can potentially have a very significant effect on however many people's lives that day based on those one-on-one sessions that we have. The advice that I'll be able to give, or obviously the effect with manual therapy that I can hopefully have, education and being there for someone, whatever it might be, it can be a significant effect. And so that continues to inspire me, and I just essentially want to be the best physio that I possibly can be, and I still consider myself at a pretty young point in my career with a long way to go. And probably recently, it's giving myself a bit more time and space to put energy into myself, physically and mentally and everything, to put me in a position, I guess, where I'm going to be able to have the biggest impact. So that's exploring different ways to move that make me feel good. And I guess a big thing is, I never want to be taking the place of a nutritionist or a psychologist or anything like that, and I value everyone's fields, and that's probably something that has hit home to me more in the last year or so. I don't need to be everything to someone. I don't need to be the yoga teacher, the psychologist, the nutritionist. That's not my role. I'm a physio. But if I have information to provide that might help, then I think that is great. But if they need to do yoga, I'll send them to a great yoga teacher like you, or countless yoga teachers that I know. If they need a psychologist, then I'll be able to direct that, or a nutritionist or anything like that. But certainly for me, I guess I am really passionate about health and wellness and this amazingly sensitive, complex biological machine of ours, that just literally never ceases to amaze me. The more I learn, the more I want to keep learning. So it's going to be a lifelong journey in that. From a physical perspective, I really respect any physiotherapist, clinician, coach that practices what they preach. There's nothing more inspirational to a client or patient or whatever than their therapist, physio, coach that's living it and owning it and feeling great, looking great, and authentically that's the case. They're not pretending to be something they're not. I think someone's going to be much more inclined to take on exercises or advice if the person perhaps guiding them seems to be doing that. I think that's a much easier sell if that's the case. So yeah, I've enjoyed a bit of a shift in training that's really keeping me on track. It probably started, I always for a couple of years, have been loving my yoga, and thanks to you and a couple of our other yoga teachers around Perth, I really have seen the value in that consistent, regular practice, and particularly yoga, and diving a bit deeper into finding some peace and connection with the mind and the body and the breath, and the ability to step back from our hectic lives and be able to drop into a calm place. That being a skill that needs work. It doesn't just happen. I guess that forming a foundation and spending time in the gym over the years, that formed a nice foundation to this next little chapter where in early 2017 I did a course with IDO Portal, the motion course that was in Perth. So, Ido's formed his whole movement philosophy. He's an incredible dude, and he's got a lot of wisdom that he's sharing with the world and has been doing for some time now. And that was a bit of a game changer in how the body can move and how it's important to provide the right amount of stress and strain on the body, and it responds well to that and gets stronger if it's a nice, sensible approach. But it's important to explore that, So that helped even shift my approach with physio a little bit. And then the handstand thing at the moment, which I'm really putting some energy into. Ido, first of all, what's that? Lots of energy, heaps. Ido was the one he coins it a doorway skill, where if you can get your head around and body around and master the handstand, the really nice, straight, strong gymnastic style handstand or yoga style handstand, it really requires mindful attention of pretty much every muscle in the body. And talking to you about it, you've got great experience and have done your time with handstands, and when your shoulders are good, I'm sure you'll re-enter the world of it. But you talk about these cogs turning at the shoulder, at the ribs, at the hips. But every joint in the body, you have to have some awareness and control of. Every muscle. It takes a lot of good core strength, but good functional strength to maintain that position. Plus, I love, when I watch someone that's really got it nailed, like Jake Lalich, who has been coaching me for 12 months or so. He's calm and he's peaceful when he's in that handstand. He's focused, his breath is controlled, and every muscle is completely activated, but he's mindful and he's calm in that position, and I love that. The training itself, if anything has ever required consistent dedicated work, it's getting this skill, and I'm still not there. But I love it, and the practice is making me stronger every day. A big thing I love about training skills, perhaps these calisthenics type skills, whether it's on the rings or handstand type work, it is a skill that you're training, and it's a movement that you're training. Now, compared to, let's say, going to the gym and pushing and pulling weights, you sometimes see people struggling for motivation to go to the gym, maybe not. And it might be hard to find motivation. Perhaps I'll push a bit more than I pushed last week. And that might be enough to motivate someone, and it probably is. And I love the gym as well, and I think that's a super important part of strength and conditioning. Yet with training this skill, it's this awesome self-perpetuating cycle where you improve a little bit, and that inspires you, and you want to do more, and you do notice that you get stronger, but from practicing the skill, as opposed to I'm going to train my arms or I'm going to train my legs today. No, I'm going to practice this skill, and that's going to have this this nice effect on the rest of my body. Plus, it's going to require a heap of focused attention, where I can really spend that hour or whatever in that zone, which to me is as good as anything else. And whether it's your yoga or your gym or anything, if you can have that time where you're completely dedicated to that task, then that's a really worthwhile practice. And for me at the moment, these handstands have me pretty focused, and I want to continue to improve at it for the effect that it's having on my strength and mobility, as well as, you know, being able to put me in a position to share that information and that knowledge with people and with athletes. I guess I like to, you know, imagine someone who had trained up to do handstands, yet they were a desk worker, and they're sitting in this position, and they get this tight neck and tight back, and, you know, imagine how quickly you could correct that, reset that, go do a couple of handstand drills, you know, 5 minutes, and then back to your desk, and it really stretches everything out and loosens everything up. And so right now, yeah, that's where a lot of my training is revolving around. It's kind of it's got me pretty motivated. So I'll keep working at that. But I'm really, again, I'm kind of using my body as a guinea pig for lots of different types of things. I still love yoga, and I try and fit that in, you know, at least have one good yoga session a week. As part of the handstand training, there's lots of mobility exercises and stretches that help. And, you know, when I get home, I want to get back in the gym and get some good strength and conditioning going, and it always feels good to throw a bit of weight around, and you know, nothing necessarily feels better than that as well. I think that's an important part of training, and then I want to get back to my running as well, because I never feel freer than going for a nice big long run out in nature. So I really do value all different ways to train, and I'm just trying to give myself enough time to fit it all in, because I love my work, and I'm excited about getting back into that, and then of course then there's friends and family as well. So it's just a big part of all this is keeping that balance as well. Now I could keep talking about this.
Keep talking, but I think you should wipe your brow.
It's a sweaty hot time over here.
It's been a hot time. I mean, we're just entering winter here on Hawaii, and
what do you reckon it is right now?
Must
be 30.
At least 30, but there's humidity as well, so it's hot. So have a drink of water, refresh. You could keep talking.
If anyone was watching, I'm sure they were thinking, when's he going to wipe his face?
Thank you for sharing all that, bro. Back to what you first touched upon about your constant kind of yearning for learning. Yearning for learning, I like that.
Have you said that before?
I don't know if I have. Just came through.
That's really good. That's what I've got. Yeah.
It's beautiful, and you have continued that like tirelessly. It's been super inspiring, and you was talking about the other day of like almost the equivalent of the initial degree of physiotherapy kind of being like the entry-level teacher training a lot of people are getting, like the first teacher training. And I remember you saying that first degree most likely isn't enough for a full spectrum knowledge of what it takes to be a really good physiotherapist. But I guess it's tricky for people when it's just a job, you know, like the old kind of, you could say, paradigm of you go to uni, you get your degree, and you do your job. Yet it seems what you're saying, it's this deep inspiration where work becomes art. It's your full lifestyle. It's your passion. It feeds you, and then you feed it to the patients that come to you, and it's a full continuum of learning more and then offering and learning more and offering. And that's beautiful. I think anything that should be applied, but you can't, I guess, force it. I think regulating things kind of force you to keep up a certain amount of hours of continuing education. But yeah, super inspiring to see you continue to add in pieces, and it's really just inspiring you, and then you learn more and then you bring it in. But I guess it's tricky for people when they fall into that trap of identifying with their job and it's just a job. It's just a job. There's kind of blessings in that, but I think it's often very, it can cultivate a lot of dullness and discontentment and lack of artful kind of flow of inspiration. So, like, can you speak to that a little bit, of someone that is like, holy shit, that'd be awesome just to feel that pumped on wanting to wake up and go to their job and wanting to serve and wanting to offer. Someone that's maybe feeling they're in a dead-end job, and the maybe not a dead-end job, but it's all perceptual. I'll actually talk to that a little bit more. I remember Ram Dass sharing of a friend of his that was in his Sangha back in the 60s, 70s, who was a mortgage broker. And then he had his mystical experience of like, fuck, this mortgage broking is just, it's not serving my soul. It's a dead-end job. Like, I'm going to leave my job and go and seek spirit. So he did that for a few years and found himself, so to speak, or maybe actually self-actualization, found himself, felt inspired. And then eventually, some years passed by. He's just walking down a busy street and he bumped into his old boss, who said, "You were the best mortgage broker we've ever had. Would you like your job back?" And he had a huge beard, shaved his beard, or got rid of his hippie clothes, put on his suit, and went back to his job and had a completely different experience. He was no longer identified with his job. He viewed it as an awesome opportunity to serve and to hang out with people and to connect with other souls, and the mortgage broking was just the platform to do it. But I think in our culture we tend to put so much pressure on ourselves to get that perfect job, then we identify with that job, we think we are our job, and even in our conversations when we first meet someone, often one of the first questions is like, what do you do? You know, I'm a mortgage broker, I'm a physiotherapist, I'm this. And when we're identified with it, if you're loving your job, that works in your favor. But if you're not loving it, it's just, no, I'm a this, I'm a that. So it's like, even if you're in an ideal job where you're doing what you absolutely love, or you're in a shitty job and you're looking for a way out, you're looking for the perfect job, you're looking for something that is more aligned with your heart. I think what you're speaking of, the inspiration, the serving, the connection, can actually be done in any job. I think the trap is we tend to identify with it. And another example is in India, where literally, I often speak of it quite a bit, literally the most radiant person I've ever met was this security guard in India, in which most of the time, the security guard of our ashram, he'd just be sitting there because there wasn't a lot of stuff to be security guard over. He was just sitting there doing his mantra, being peaceful, just enjoying, meditating. And apparently he didn't look like most security guards, identified with security guardness, on guard in a very aggressive way and so forth. I'm kind of rambling on about it, but coming full circle back to the inspiration that is just kind of pouring through very organically for you, which is beautiful. Yet the other side of that, where people feel in a rut, like, what do I do? You know, I think it'd be nice to speak to that a little.
Yeah, I mean, you probably stole some of the words out of my mouth.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no worries. Because I was going to come back to your security guard story that I have heard you talk about. Because I think obviously there's the people with the idea that, well, I don't love my job, but I'm working to live. I'm not living to work. So that kind of is their way of justifying the fact that they might hate their job or they're in a job that they hate. And we're not discrediting those people. You know, it's like, if that's your view and you have a life outside of work that is great enough and you love it and working gives you the opportunities to do that, then okay, that's good. There is the idea, though, and the reality that we spend, I don't know what percentage of our lives working, but a huge percent. It's like work, sleep, eat, you know, and then a little bit of leisure time in there.
Unless you're doing the 4-hour work week.
Oh, look, there are don't get me wrong. There's definitely people out there. There's definitely people out there who will have a fair bit to say about that as well. And, you know, I guess with those people, they need that holiday, you know, and I've certainly heard you talk about that before, which is I'm dying for my holiday, and when the holiday ends, there's almost a depression that kicks in because they're going back to reality, back to work, and again, without rambling on about the fact that I do love my job, is I'm not feeling that, and I am actually excited about going home. You know, I can't wait to get stuck back into it again with Fever and the girls there, and also back at Darch as well, and I'm sure we'll come back around to that in a little bit. But I guess what you would ask those people to look at, you know, not everyone needs a job where they're serving people as a healer or a coach or something like that. If someone's in a job like they're an accountant or a mortgage broker or something, they don't have to go, well, he just loves his job. He's a physio that he's dealing in health and wellness, and good on him for loving it, but, you know, I'm an accountant or whatever. Not that, you know, like you said, if you bring a different approach in that, you know, we need amazing accountants who love their job and want to be able to help this person achieve everything he can. What keeps me going is helping people feel good, get the most out of their lives, achieve their goals. You know, helping gives me a reward which motivates me and excites me and makes me want to do what I want to do. Now, those people in those jobs are in a position to do that with other people. So they just need to possibly bring that motivation and excitement into that job. You know, I was crap with numbers at school. I was never going to be an accountant. It made it easier for me to choose this path because, I could remember body parts, I liked sport, and I loved exercise, and it kind of led me that way. Whereas for these other people, they're gifted with numbers or this or that, and they can bring the excitement to that job because they can help this person save for this or achieve this and help in those people's lives. So I guess it's just having a look at what value you can bring to yourself, and it's like the security guard or the cleaner or the janitor or whatever, who you look at them and they're happy and they're whistling and they're in absolute bliss in that job. You know, they have a role within the society that they're helping keep things going. And if you get to wake up to your job and say, I'm achieving what my role is today, and that's contributing to society, then that's certainly something that's going to get you up out of bed. And I think the other thing to those people is are they doing the other things that are going to help them feel good? So what helps me feel good? That's exercise, eating well, and going and doing a good job. Now, these people that hate their lives, have they got good habits? You know, are they eating well? Are they doing the exercise? Because, you know, I bet if they woke up and did their meditation or did their exercise, had an amazing meal, went off to work, whatever that may be, and enjoyed their communications or interactions with people throughout the day as they contributed, and then maybe did more exercise and meditation and then have another good meal. You know, that's I think you can it's an attitude thing, and you should be able to bring some joy and contentment to whatever you're doing. And then if you're still not, then you need to have a look at the job and say, all right, I've got to work and I hate my job. And if you're still hating it and there's a gut feeling in there that you hate it, then it's time to look at it. Maybe it is time for a new job. There's nothing wrong with that. I think people should have career changes over their lives. You want to be motivated, and if you're still not loving it, maybe you need a full change. There's nothing wrong with that. So when you have your holiday or you have your time, think about that. Think what's gonna excite you, what's gonna drive you, and it might be a career change, and then it would be encouraging someone to make a leap and do something out of your comfort zone. But again, that's a whole conversation.
Good conversation. No, thank you for pouring it forth. Couldn't agree more. And it definitely seems really important if one is inquiring into what their optimum job is. It seems like a requirement that they quieten the mind first. Like if we're just listening to the mind, just thinking about it, running it through old programs, so to speak, and all that, it's such a limited inquiry. But as Ram Dass says, we're souls, not roles, It's another rhyme, which seems really important if we're trying to find out our role that'll feed us and feed our family and feed the community. And it might be just the job we worked our ass for in uni or whatever, but that yearning to feel at peace and at one with it isn't actually going to come from the mind. I mean, the mind is so incredible how we might tick all those boxes of the mind's yearning, but the predicament of the mind is it's rarely ever satisfied unless it's all being put into its perfect compartment. But that's so rare, because then the whole grass is greener on the other side predicament. That's a mind thing. That's not a soul thing. That's not a heart thing. So if the mind is still in that old programming, we might then go searching for that perfect job once again, working our ass off for it. This is going to be the one. And then we arrive into it and we bring our same hell into that new job. And there's a similar predicament with the old game, which is still a current game of working our ass off for the future, for retirement, and just, which is valid and has some benefit to it. It's a good thing to do, to plan accordingly for the future. But that rat race of, okay, I'm going to put up with the bullshit now. I'm going to put up with it for 10 or 20 years or 30 or 40, whatever, to get ahead enough to then be set up for that holiday or that retirement plan. And a blessing I had was getting into personal training at a pretty young age and being around really wealthy people, really people that I thought had made it, CEOs and entrepreneurs and people really wealthy. Yet what I kept seeing is they were set up for retirement, yet they were some of the most miserable people I'd ever met. And I definitely fed into that a little too much, of thinking the whole notion that, money doesn't make you happy, which has truth to it, but then the extreme of that in which money is evil, which I think is taken to way too extreme. Money is just energy. It's just an energy of exchange. It seems really important to get into that flowing, passionate state, to not identify so heavily with the money aspect. Like a big thing in our culture, Western culture, is to be obsessed with the outcome of our work, working just to get to that outcome, just to get to that degree, just to get to that raise, just to get to that retirement, just to get to that holiday. And if we haven't quietened the mind enough to get to the soul, the heart, pure awareness, we're going to bring the same hell everywhere, the same maya, the same illusion, the same rat race or whatever. So I do think if one is in that process of, I got to find a better job, awesome, like go for it, but make it a daily practice, like you said, to meditate, to quiet the mind, to get physical, get your energy strong, get your vitality up, and then go explore that ideal job. But if the mind is caught up in old patterning or scarcity mentality, old patterns of doubt and so on, we'll bring that into anything, even if it's that dream situation.
Yeah, there's always going to be something bigger or greater or more, and that's just human nature, and it's changing the motivation. And it's interesting when you do find something that does make your heart and soul sing a little bit, that the other stuff just kind of takes care of itself. That's what never ceases to amaze me. You know, we haven't come from an abundance of material goods. We had more than enough, and we're absolutely blessed in that. But you know, we at the same time, our world never revolved around material things, and even getting to Hawaii and doing this was a dream. When we were 10, 12, 15, you know, we would watch Endless Summer and look at this, and we, you know, I didn't get on a plane till I was 19, and I'm not sure. Same. Yeah. So it would be very easy to sit there and look at us going, oh yeah, it's easy to say that when you're chilling out in Hawaii. But I've worked damn hard for this sort of stuff, but I've done it loving every minute of it, and that's the difference again, you know. And it's going to sound so cliche and ridiculous, but you know, work like you don't need the money. It is something that runs through my mind, and I do actually work like I don't need the money. And because I do love it, and amazingly, it's things are, you know, things are coming into my life which are making me be able to do this sort of thing, and I'm super grateful that I have that. But it's amazing what happens when, you know, you're not stressing over every penny in and out, and you're just focusing on what you can focus on, which is feeling good and contributing and doing those things that ideally, you know, everything else does naturally take care of itself. And, you know, obviously, I'll leave that there, but I think that's just an interesting idea.
And shout out to our parents. Thank you, Mum and Dad.
Best parents.
And shout out to our sister, Leash. And
we have the most amazing
everyone.
family.
We really do. We really do. And it was a real blessing that we... I mean, we were talking about the other day, like we used to have an annual trip down to Augusta, and we'd stay in this shithole of a place. It was just a rat haven, really run down.
It had an outhouse. There was an outhouse.
An outhouse.
There was rats and cockroaches.
But we loved it. It was so beautiful, and we had so much fun. And I've got great memories of those times, and the abundance of joy and playfulness and love was so rich that the location and the quality of the place didn't matter. Like it's not like I'm looking back and comparing it to this lushness, and it's
felt
the same.
It felt like this.
Yeah,
it was that good. You know, and even it's amazing. You know, we were in the banged up old shack, and there were these little condos, little apartments next to it, which were just a bit bigger and a bit nicer, and they looked really well maintained. And we would, you know, 5-6 years, one day we'll stay in that.
Yeah.
You know, Mum and Dad, and these families would roll up in their you know, their slightly nicer car or whatever, and you know, we still felt like we had everything.
Yeah.
We were never missing out, and we did have everything. We absolutely did. And then on our, you know, 6th or 7th year, we stayed in that apartment, and it was amazing. Yeah. You know, it was so beautiful. And then we looked at the old banged up one next door and thought, wow, we stayed in that for 5 or 6 years, and loved every minute of it. And we never got sick of Augusta and its paradise down there. And And it's amazing. And I guess that came up because Jo picked this place and she was thinking, I don't want to disappoint you guys, it's I hope it's good. And I just said, look, I don't care, if it's somewhere near the beach, then that's a massive bonus. And then we started laughing about that background of ours from where we had come, and now it's beautiful to be able to go on these trips and get to these amazing places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you said, for those of you that are like, easy for you guys, like, I'll feel that good when I finally get to Hawaii or something like that. Yeah, maybe just take a moment to feel into what we just spoke of like those days in that shitty old shed type house. It was just as blissful as this.
Yeah, exactly right. It really was.
And yeah, I mean, I see people here laying on a sublime beach, bringing the hell of their normal day, so to speak, here, and they're neurotic and uptight and angry and finding shit to complain about. We really can just bring our shit anywhere we go. And so yeah, if you're like just grinding to look forward to that holiday down the track, find the peace, find the holiday, find the beauty, like right now, even if it's not ideal surroundings, ideal situation, and then by the time you get to that holiday, you'll be more prepared to relax into it. But yeah, I'm super grateful that we are here. At the same time, if it was still like the good old days of just the annual trip down to Augusta or whatever, I mean, that was beautiful. But I do remember that sparking in me a deep yearning to explore. I remember, like, that was one of my primary goals as I was growing up, like, to explore, because it was just, like, unknown, this kind of curiosity of, like, wow, like, that's so incredible. And I do appreciate that innocence and that awe and wonder, like, with our little kids, Soleil and Lani. I mean, Lani has already been over here 3 times. LA twice. She's only just turned 6 months. Soleil has traveled the world like countless times already, and she's only 5. Like, I'm appreciating that she's getting to see all these different cultures, and she's getting really worldly already and adaptable in different environments and all that, but it's completely different to what I grow up with. So it's just going to be interesting to observe her growth and development and like what she gets excited about, because often we'll just reflect with her of like, what was your favorite part about the trip? Was it, climbing up that mountain or going into that, and she'll be like the plane ride, just, or like
the aquarium,
the duck over there, or the aquarium, or something really ordinary. So it's really interesting just contemplating like what ultimately lights us up, and inquiring with it with Soleil kind of does magnify it back to a real simple innocence of what really matters, because we don't need much, really, So big shout out to our family, which undoubtedly would be listening to this and watching it and all that. So
love you guys.
Love. Cam, what's ahead, my man? I know you're wanting to run workshops, and we've been talking about potentially collaborating a retreat in Bali in the future. And what are you feeling excited about in terms of upcoming offerings and stuff like that? You're wanting to get workshops happening soon, and
look, certainly the very near future is just returning to my life back home. So I get home late Sunday night, straight back into my physio role with the West Coast Fever.
Shout out to the Fever.
Shout out to Fever. Love that club. Love everyone there, and it's an exciting year ahead. We've had a massive year this year, and everyone really stepped up, and we were able to get to the grand final and just lose that, unfortunately. But the girls battled their hearts out, and everyone involved with the staff, Coach Stace and my good mate Liam Warwick, who's the strength and conditioning coach, we all got so tight over the year and all put in everything. And obviously the athletes, the girls, just worked so bloody hard and got so close. And I'm inspired to get back into that as I've ever been. It's a massive year ahead, just going into my second year with them. But again, that's, where everything I'm working on here is to be able to have more tools, more stuff to work on with them and to help to create some superhuman athletes out of those girls, which they are already. But if we can fine-tune that even more, then that's really exciting. And so that's a big part of my life. And then back into the clinic, which I absolutely love out at Darch Physio as well. We've managed to get an amazing team of awesome physios out there who I absolutely love, and they share the same motivation and inspiration for helping people and for physio as I do. And obviously my business partner, Craig King, who is a legend. And
yeah, Craig.
He holds the fort down real strong while I'm away and lets me know about it. But he's the best, and he's looking after Fever at the moment while I'm away as well. So just getting back into Fever, back into the clinic at Darch, and getting back to all my great clients and patients and getting back to where we were. I'm going to keep training and keep getting better with my movement, my functional training, and keep working on these handstands and these rings and become more proficient there. Keep working with Jake Lalich and keep working with you and everyone around. I certainly love the idea of doing more of a retreat type scenario when that kind of is the right time, whether it's collaborating with you. I think it's an amazing idea to have like a yoga / meditation / functional movement, functional strengthening type retreat. I think it's that's where the avenue is. We need a holistic approach to our bodies because they are complex things. We need to hit it from every angle, the mind, the body, the nutritional aspect. And I really do love what happens when you go and immerse yourself in a retreat type situation. I just had that Bali retreat a few weeks back with Jake, and you go away and you get to train morning and night and eat amazing food throughout the day, and your job for that week is to just do whatever it's going to take to really nurture and nourish your mind and body and soul. And it's amazing what can be achieved in 5 or 7 days in that environment when you're surrounded by other people who are really motivated to work on themselves and to work on their whatever it is that they need to work on top of what you're there for, that retreat. And I love the idea of combining what we do in that sort of environment. And yeah, there's a couple of other little bits and pieces in the pipeline, but it's a time thing, and between Fever and the clinic does take up a lot of time, and a big challenge for me is keeping the balance. There's a lot of things that kind of light up my soul, and it's trying to find time for all of those things, music and obviously friends and family. You got to keep all those things going as well. So
you are the busiest person I've ever met.
Yeah,
by far.
Yeah.
I'm amazed how much you can fit in, and it's all from such a passionate, loving place. Like you'll be grinding just all day, not grinding, but working a lot all day, and then your commitment to the family and to friends, and I've never seen anything quite like it. It's a beautiful thing, and your stamina to feed all these different relationships. It's a beautiful thing, and I think everyone that knows you would agree with that. How loyal and committed and passionate, and I'm amazed how you're able to fit it all in.
It's a funny thing. I do love so many different aspects of life, and I do try to give time and energy to those things that excite me. This is a time in my life where I have, I can afford to be a little bit selfish, and I'm, choosing that. and certainly as part of the Stuart Watkins and Joe Tastula retreat on yoga, meditation, and family. I've learnt, and spending time in this family environment with you guys, I've learned that that's something that I really want to, and when the time is right, you know, it's going to be an amazing thing as well.
Oh, look out, world.
So basically, something's got to give. You know, you have to make sacrifices in life, and it's making the most of where I am right now and being grateful for having the time and energy to train and to work like a bastard and see my friends and or do my best to see all my friends and do the music, and you know, so it's a very special time, and a time where, you know, you or Craig, who's a young dad, or these other guys would go, you know, bloody hell, Cam, make the most of this time. You know, I am making the most of this time, and I'm going to continue to do that at this stage and fit every little bit in. No one will ever say that I could have fit more in.
What would have you fit into this trip that you haven't yet?
Oh, there's just so you can always, hey, like
that's something we're having a giggle about it with Cam last night. There's been several times on this trip where, you know, we've been in an epic moment, location, situation, and then Cam will be like, "Nah, let's just go like one waterfall higher," and then like, "No, let's just go another higher," and then we end up at like the most incredible spot. It's happened at least a few times, and it's been dramatic. Like, we had a night up in Haleakala, which is the inactive volcano of Maui, and we went up there for the full moon, for the sunset full moon, and we were just we were at a great spot just watching.
Yeah, it was beautiful
as it got
amazing.
darker, and we were about to drive back down the summit, back down the mountain, and then Cam was like, how about we go back up the summit and back up to the top? And we go back up the top, and it is the most extraordinary view of the full moon, like the crater of Haleakala, a mountain peak, and then the full moon. We tried to capture it on the phone, but it just didn't capture it. But there was another sunset moment where Cam was like, nah, let's just go around the bend a little bit more, and like totally change the moment into like just a peak extraordinary moment. We had a moment like that at a waterfall. We were at a great spot. Cam was like, nah, let's keep climbing up, and we did, and it was totally worth it. It was an ecstatic, just epic, awesome waterfall, and that's an awesome quality as well. Let's just go that little bit further, and thank you for bringing that into the mix.
Yeah. Look, it's like, you can always settle with something amazing, and we could have with those spots because they were amazing, you know. And but I don't know if it's that delayed gratification thing. You just hold off that little bit longer, push that little bit more, and potentially there's something there. It's a healthy. I'd like to think it's a healthy kind of...
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it is a healthy thing. It could easily be an unhealthy thing, like the grass is greener on the other side. Like, this is great, but we can do better.
I think they've been educated thoughts. It's like, it's not a full gamble.
Yes.
It's like, I'm pretty sure that waterfall's a bit better up there, you know.
It's been good. It's been
but man, it's been such a magical time, and I mean, so many little lessons, and I certainly did come here to nourish the mind and the body, but also just to keep learning and spending time with you and Joe, who are, you know, masters in your field. That is a very special thing for me to be doing. You know, there are a lot of yogis out there who would be very jealous of my position right now, spending a week with the both of you. And it's been amazing, you know, every morning, or most mornings, to go for a walk with you and Lani. And then when we were at Pluma's house for a week, to come back and then to sit there and chat with Joe and have our little lessons there and just talking about life. But it really encompasses certainly what you're about, and why I've always loved your approach to yoga and life, in that they're one in the same thing. Yoga isn't when you go to your class and do your poses on the mat. It's bringing that presence and mindfulness and connection into everything that you're doing, and that is yoga and that is life. But seeing you do that as a young dad, when you walk Lani in the morning, you could be saying, look, I've got to go and do my 60-minute morning class, love. And I'm sure Joe would find a way to let that happen. But your yoga is walking Lani and then coming back and doing your upward dogs while she's doing her tummy time, and Joe's is spending time with the girls and doing this and doing a few handstands with me in between and doing some juggling and bringing that playfulness into it all. There's been a lot of lessons there, and that's what's been further inspiring to me to see that that one day it would be an amazing thing. So I love my family time, and it's the most important thing for me, and to connect a bit more with Soleil and Lani in this amazing time has been incredible as well, and also to spend this time with you has been incredible in this magical place.
Yeah, our last day in Maui. Let's soak it up and enjoy bringing all this energy back to Perth. We're flying back tomorrow. If you haven't tuned into Darch Physio, you should totally do it if you're in Perth, that is. They're totally revolutionizing physio into a full, holistic, comprehensive approach. I could be speaking from bias, but I truly don't think so. I've been observing the whole body movement, yoga, body work scene for quite a while now, like 15 years now, and it really is cutting edge, and seeing you guys continue to grow and not get complacent and continue to refine your skills and your education, it's incredible. And I do actually think it's quite rare, and that in combination with the mindfulness aspect, the meditative aspect, the openness as well. It doesn't seem to be an arrogance to it, like a real. It's beautiful, just incredibly balanced and holistic. So, Darch Physio, check it out. They're doing incredible things, and
thanks, bro.
Hopefully, for those of you that aren't in Perth, even just hop on the Instagram and all that kind of thing, because they're always doing very inspiring posts and whatnot. And most likely, with the internet age, more and more like articles and that will start popping up.
Yeah.
They're starting to get more regular and video posts and whatnot.
Yeah,
so
putting a bit more
wherever
time
you
into
are
that.
in the world, I highly encourage you hop onto their platforms, in which I'll leave links below, and can check it out. But my brother, so good to get this opportunity with you and sit down and reflect and share the vibes with the community. And
thank you, brother. I love you very much.
Love you so much.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
Sending lots of love from Maui.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.